The air in the ICU of Pacific Crest Medical Center was a sterile cocktail of antiseptic and despair. For Elias Vance, it had become the only atmosphere he breathed. He stood, a statue of grief and fury, in room 314, watching his daughter, Chloe. Her chest rose and fell in a rhythm dictated not by her own will, but by the relentless sigh of the ventilator. The machines around her bed beeped a monotonous digital lullaby, a sound that had scored the worst 2 weeks of his life. His gaze fell to her left hand, resting on the stark white sheet. Her wedding ring, a simple platinum band, caught the harsh fluorescent light and seemed to mock him with its symbolism, a promise, a vow, a lie. Liam, her husband, hadn't been here in 3 days, but Elias knew exactly where he was. The proof was splashed across social media, courtesy of Liam's sister Bianca, who seemed to believe every moment of her life was a public performance. There they were, Liam, Bianca, and a collection of their glossy friends, on a sleek, obscenely expensive yacht called the Serpent. Champagne flutes clinked in a toast to a blood-orange sunset. A woman in an emerald green bikini, who was most certainly not Chloe, had her arm draped casually around Liam's waist. The caption read, "Salty air and good company heal the soul. #blessed. #yacht life." Elias's jaw tightened. Slip 22, Harbor Grand Marina. $55,000 for the weekend. The number was seared into his brain. While Chloe's brain swelled from the impact of the car accident, while the neurosurgeons fought to relieve the pressure, her soulmate was toasting his freedom on the Pacific. At 11:47 p.m., the head nurse, a formidable, compassionate woman named Rosa Alvarez, pulled him aside. Her face, usually a mask of professional calm, was etched with concern. "Mr. Vance," she whispered, her voice low and urgent, "there's something you need to know about your son-in-law." Her hands, usually so steady, trembled slightly as she handed him a clipboard. What he discovered in the following minutes, scribbled in rushed medical shorthand and damning timestamps, changed the axis of his world. This was no longer a tragedy, it was a crime scene, and his daughter was the victim. The next morning, Elias arrived at the hospital at 6 a.m. sharp. 35 years as a family court judge had ingrained in him the tactical advantages of being early and prepared. As he approached the familiar ICU entrance, a new security guard, built like a refrigerator, stepped into his path. "I'm sorry, sir. Access is restricted to immediate family only. Doctor's orders." Elias blinked, his mind struggling to process the words. He fumbled for his visitor badge, the one he had worn like a second skin for a fortnight. "There must be a mistake," he breathed. "I'm her father. I have a badge." The guard's expression was implacable. "That's been revoked, sir. Dr. Thorne left specific instructions." Dr. Thorne, Liam, his own son-in-law, had banned him from seeing his daughter. A cold fury, sharper and more focused than any he had felt before, began to crystallize within him. He called Liam's phone, straight to voicemail. He called the hospital administration, navigating a labyrinth of automated menus before reaching a human who offered placating, empty assurances. "We'll look into it and get back to you, Mr. Vance."
He spent 3 hours sitting in his car in the parking lot, the steering wheel a cold circle under his white-knuckled grip. The phone remained silent. At 2:30 p.m., as he sat stirring a cold, bitter cup with coffee in the cafeteria, Rosa Alvarez found him. She was off duty, still in her blue scrubs, her badge proclaiming 24 years of service. She slid into the booth opposite him, her eyes scanning the room. "Judge Mance," she began, her voice barely a whisper, "I could lose my job for this." She slid a manila folder across the Formica table. Inside were photocopied medical charts, Chloe's charts. Rosa pointed a finger at a specific line. "Look at the signature on the DNR order. Do not resuscitate." The words hit him like a physical blow. He read the name twice, Liam Thorne, MD. The handwriting was neat, precise, almost elegant. It was nothing like Liam's usual rushed, arrogant scrawl. This was deliberate. Careful. "This was filed yesterday at 3:22 p.m., Rosa whispered, leaning closer, right after Dr. Thorne got back from his weekend trip. Elias studied the timestamp, his legal mind clicking into gear. Liam was still on the yacht when this was supposedly signed. Bianca's Instagram story showed the Serpent docking at 4:45 p.m. "There's more," Rosa continued, her voice dropping even lower. "The attending physician, Dr. Sharma, never signed off. Hospital policy requires 2 signatures for a DNR. This only has 1. Forged documents. In 35 years on the bench, I'd seen his share, but never one so personally devastating." Rosa pulled out her phone, pulling up a photo of a computer screen. It was the visitor log for room 314 for the last 14 days. His eyes scanned the entries. Liam Thorne, October 12, 7:15 p.m., October 15, 10:03 a.m. That was it. 2 visits in 2 weeks. "The other nurses are talking, Judge," Rosa said. "About the phone calls." "What phone calls?" "To the insurance company. Dr. Thorne has been using the consultation room, calling them daily, asking about life insurance policies, death benefits. He thinks the walls are thick." She met his gaze, her own filled with a mixture of pity and anger. $2.5 million. Chloe's policy. He's been asking about the documentation required for a claim, how quickly they pay out. I remember when Chloe had taken out that policy. Liam had been insistent on the amount. "We have to protect our future, Elias," he said, his tone so reasonable, so responsible. The hypocrisy was nauseating. Rosa checked her watch. "I have to go, but Judge Vance, there's something else. About your granddaughter. Maya. 7 years old. The center of Chloe's universe. The light of his own. Dr. Thorne filed papers with Child Protective Services yesterday," Rosa said, the words coming out in a pained rush. "He's claiming you're unfit, too old, that you have early-stage dementia. He's saying if something happens to Chloe, you cannot care for her." The lie was so audacious, so vicious, it stole the air from my lungs. I had a routine cognitive assessment just last month, perfect scores, a clean bill of health from my physician. This was a preemptive strike. "He's trying to isolate her," Rosa said, her voice firm. "Cut her off from everyone who truly cares for her. It's a pattern we see sometimes, usually right before..." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. His phone buzzed on the table. A text message lit up the screen. "Liam. Elias, we need to talk. Tomorrow. 2 p.m. My office." Not Dad, not Elias, just his surname. A power play. Cold, clinical, and dismissive. He looked at Rosa, this woman who was risking her entire career, her livelihood, to do the right thing. "Thank you," he said, the words feeling inadequate. She stood to leave, then turned back. "Judge Vance," she said, her voice soft but unwavering. "In 24 years, I've never seen a husband refuse to hold his wife's hand. Not once." That night, Elias sat in Chloe's room long after visiting hours were over. He knew which entrance the night guard consistently neglected, an old courthouse habit of noting vulnerabilities. He held her hand. It was warm, alive. Her pulse beat a steady, stubborn rhythm under his thumb. The machines monitoring her brain activity showed complex, fluctuating patterns, not the flat, hopeless line of someone gone, but the turbulent, fighting signals of a mind struggling to find its way back. He thought of the yacht photos, Liam's arm around the woman in the green bikini, both of them laughing while Chloe was undergoing emergency surgery. He thought of the forged DNR, the insurance calls, the lies to CPS about Maya. He made a decision that would alter the course of all their lives.
Pulling out his phone, he dialed a number he hadn't used in 3 years. Carson Reed, Private Investigations. The voice on the other end was a low, gravelly baritone, devoid of pleasantries. Carson, it's Elias Vance. Remember that favor you owe me? There was a brief pause. 25 years ago, Elias had presided over Carson's brutal divorce case. His ex-wife, connected and ruthless, had tried to fabricate evidence to gain sole custody and disappear with their children. Elias, seeing through the charade, had ruled in Carson's favor, ensuring he remained in his kids' lives. Carson, a former FBI agent specializing in financial crimes, had looked him in the eye after the verdict and said, "Anything you ever need, Judge. Anything." "Judge Vance, what do you need?" Carson's tone was all business. "I need you to investigate my son-in-law. Everything. Financial records, phone records, that yacht he's been posting about. I want to know how a surgical resident affords a $55,000 weekend. What's the timeline?" He looked at Chloe's peaceful face. "Yesterday." The call ended. Without a second thought, Elias logged into his banking app and initiated a wire transfer from his retirement account. A $30,000 retainer fee. It was a significant chunk of his security, but it was nothing compared to Chloe's life. And as he stared at the photos of the yacht party, he realized something. In her desperate bid for attention, Bianca had posted something she never intended to reveal. The name of the yacht, the Serpent, was clearly visible, and in the background, tucked into a storage compartment, was a distinctive logo for a medical supply company Elias knew had a dubious reputation. It was a thread, and he would pull it until the whole tapestry of Liam's lies unraveled. The call came at 7:15 the next morning. Elias was in Chloe's room, having slipped past security once more. He was reading for the business section, a ritual from her childhood. She'd always been fascinated by the stories behind the companies. His phone vibrated. Liam. "Elias, we need to discuss Chloe's situation." "Her situation," Elias repeated, keeping his voice flat. 35 years in family court had taught him to never show emotion on the first move. It gave away your position. "Let's be realistic here," Liam continued, a hint of impatience in his tone. "The latest brain scannings show catastrophic trauma. The neurologist says the chance of any meaningful recovery is statistically negligible." He watched the steady rise and fall of Chloe's chest. "Which neurologist?" A pause. A little too long. "Dr. Evans. He's the head of the department." Elias scribbled the name on a napkin. Carson would check that too. "Liam, I know this is difficult, but I have to think about Maya's future, about my practice. I can't put my entire life on hold indefinitely." "Your life," Elias repeated, letting the word hang in the air, heavy with implication. "Yes, and Chloe would want me to move on, to find happiness again." Elias thought of the woman in the green bikini, the champagne, the sunset. "Liam, are you familiar with the state's community property laws?" Another longer pause. "I don't see why that's relevant." "Well, as Chloe's husband, you're entitled to 50% of her assets, including that life insurance policy, but only if you're still married when she passes." The silence on the other end of the line was profound. He could almost hear the gears grinding in Liam's brain. "What are you implying?" Liam's voice was tighter now. "I'm not implying anything. I'm stating a legal fact. $2.5 million is a significant sum for someone with your expenses." "My expenses?" "The yacht rental. $55,000 for the weekend. Bianca's Instagram was quite detailed. Harbor Grand, slip 22. Beautiful photos." A sharp intake of breath. "You've been stalking my sister's social media?" "Liam, I'm a retired family court judge. I'm trained to notice things, like how someone on a residence salary affords a weekend on the Serpent, or why someone would file a DNR order while they were still 30 miles offshore." "I don't know what you're talking about." "The timestamp, Liam. 3:22 p.m.
But Bianca's story shows you didn't dock until 4:45. It's basic mathematics. The mask is starting to slip. Listen, Elias. Liam's voice shifted, a patronizing edge creeping in. I understand you're upset, but Chloe is, for all intents and purposes, brain dead. The machines are just delaying the inevitable. Dr. Evans confirmed it. Interesting, because I spoke with Dr. Evans' office this morning. He's been at a conference in Berlin for the past week. He's never even heard of Chloe. Silence, thick and telling. You must have misheard me, he finally stammered. Liam, Elias said, his voice dropping to a calm, steady tone he used in his courtroom when he had a witness cornered. I spent 35 years listening to liars. You're not a very good one. What do you want? The question was a guttural surrender. I want you to rescind the false DNR order. I want you to stop your inquiries with the insurance company, and I want you to come to this hospital and sit with your wife. Or what? The defiance was back, brittle and desperate. I allowed a cold smile, knowing Liam could hear it in my voice. Or I'll make sure the hospital board, the medical licensing authority, and every news outlet in the city knows exactly what kind of husband you really are. Are you threatening me? I'm informing you. There's a difference. A long, heavy pause. When Liam spoke again, his voice had transformed. It was lower, menacing, stripped of all pretense. Listen carefully, you old fool. I'm a Stanford-trained surgeon. You're a retired, small-town judge who probably can't remember what he had for breakfast. Chloe is going to die, and when she does, I'm going to remarry. Maya will have a young, vibrant mother. She doesn't need a senile grandfather dragging her down. The words were meant to wound, to intimidate. They hit their mark, but Elias's voice remained preternaturally calm. Interesting choice of words. I'll remember that. And another thing, you can't ban me from this hospital. I already have. Security has your photo. Try to get in again, and they'll have you arrested for trespassing. Liam, Elias said, his tone almost conversational. Do you know what I learned in 35 years of family court? What? That the husband who fights the hardest to keep everyone away from his dying wife usually has the most to hide. You don't know anything.
I know the woman in the green bikini is named Isabel Rossi, 27 years old, works at Apex Medical Billing, the third-party company that handles your hospital's insurance claims. He heard Liam fumble with the phone. I know she's been accessing patient records, including Chloe's. That's a federal crime, Liam. HIPAA violations carry prison time. You're bluffing. I know you've taken Isabel to the Gilded Oyster 32 times in the past 2 years. Average bill, $475. That's over $15,000 on dinners alone on a resident's salary. His voice dropped to a whisper. And I know you've been planning this for 2 years, Liam, since the day Chloe increased her life insurance policy at your suggestion. The line went dead quiet. He could hear Liam's breathing, fast and shallow, like a cornered animal. You have no proof. Not yet. Elias ended the call. At 7:32 a.m., he immediately called Carson Reed. How fast can you get me full financials on Dr. Liam Thorne? Credit cards, bank statements, property records? Give me 24 hours. Make it 12. I just rattled his cage. He'll start covering his tracks now. Carson's next words sent a new, different kind of chill down Elias's spine. Judge, I did some preliminary digging last night. Your daughter, Chloe, she contacted a divorce lawyer 6 months ago. She was asking about separation, asset division, and most of all, sole custody of Maya. She told the lawyer she was afraid of Liam. The pieces snapped into place with devastating clarity. Chloe's recent quietness, her nervousness around Liam, her questions about his retirement account, as if ensuring he was secure. She hadn't been pulling away from him. She'd been preparing to escape Liam, and Liam, somehow sensing it, had decided to accelerate his timetable. At 3:17 a.m., he was back in the chair beside Chloe's bed. The ICU was a cathedral of quiet hums and beeps. Her hand was still warm in his. He'd been turning Liam's words over in his mind. Senile old fool, washed up judge. 35 years. 35 years of upholding the law, of protecting children, of navigating the wreckage of broken families to find a safe harbor for the innocent. And now his own family was the wreckage, and his own granddaughter needed that harbor. His phone chimed with an incoming email. Carson's preliminary report. Liam Thorne, age 36, Stanford Medical, class of 2014, surgical resident, Pacific Crest Medical Center. Annual salary, $62,000. Expenses last 6 months, $143,000. The math was a sick joke. Yacht rental, the Serpent, $55,000. Jewelry purchases, Cartier, Tiffany & Company, $28,500. Dinners, the Gilded Oyster, 32 visits, $15,200. Designer watch, $22,000. He remembered that watch on Liam's wrist, the way he'd nervously tapped the face during his rare brief visits. And then the gut punch. Liam has been systematically draining Chloe's separate investment accounts, the trust fund left by our mother. Total withdrawn over the past 5 months, $375,000. Small, regular transfers designed to avoid detection. He thought of Chloe at 9, with scraped knees and a gap-toothed grin presenting him with a lopsided clay mug she'd made in art class. "For your coffee, Daddy." So full of love and trust. She had trusted Liam, and that trust was being used as a weapon against her. The report continued. Life insurance inquiries. Liam has contacted Monarch Life Insurance weekly for the past month. Consistent questions, documentation for death benefits, expedited payment processing in cases of terminal illness. He wasn't just planning for her death. He was managing it like a project, optimizing the payout. He stood and walked to the window, looking down on the nearly empty parking lot. The night shift nurses were changing over, their cars dotting the vast, dark expanse. People like Rosa, who cared. That was the moment his resolve hardened into something unbreakable, something far beyond stopping Liam. He was going to dismantle his life, piece by privileged piece. At 3:45 a.m., he drove home for the first time in days. The house was dark, the mail piled up by the door. On top was a notice from Maya's school, concerned about her prolonged absence. Maya, 7 years old, with her mother's intelligent eyes and a laughter that could light up a room. The child Liam wanted to rip away from him with lies about dementia. He went straight to his study, a room filled with the ghosts of his career, law books, framed verdicts, photos with colleagues. He knelt and opened the third drawer of the filing cabinet, reaching to the very back. A single, thick manila folder. His retirement fund. $925,000. A lifetime of careful savings, intended for Chloe and Maya's future. Without hesitation, he wrote a check for $75,000. Carson's investigation had just been upgraded to a top priority, no expense spared operation. Then he called his attorney, a brilliant, ruthless woman named Eleanor Shaw. They'd been friends and colleagues for 3 decades. "Elias, it's 4 in the morning." Her voice was groggy but alert. "Eleanor, I need you to file an emergency petition. Temporary guardianship of Maya. I have reason to believe she is in imminent danger from her father." "What kind of danger?" Eleanor was fully awake now. He told her the forged DNR, the insurance calls, the financial theft, the lies to CPS, the divorce lawyer Chloe had secretly consulted. "My God, Elias, are you sure?"
Eleanor, I've spent my career looking into the eyes of monsters. I'm looking at one now, and he's married to my daughter. I need a full forensic accounting. I want every cent he's stolen, every law he's broken, exposed. That's extensive and expensive. Elias thought of the $375,000 stolen from Chloe's trust fund, money Liam had used to fund his double life. Money is no longer an object. At 8:30 a.m., Dr. Eris Thorne, no relation, arrived at Elias's study. A forensic accountant with 18 years in the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit, she came highly recommended by Eleanor. She was a small, precise woman with an air of intense focus. Judge Vance, I've reviewed Mr. Reed's preliminary findings. Your son-in-law is either monumentally arrogant or dangerously stupid, likely both. She opened her laptop and spreadsheets bloomed across the screen. He's been systematic, small withdrawals from joint accounts, staying under the $10,000 reporting threshold, but he got sloppy. She clicked to another screen. October 5th, 2:18 p.m., a transfer of $9,200 from Chloe's trust fund. The hospital's digital log shows Dr. Thorne was performing a gallbladder surgery at that exact time. He can't be in two places at once. The correlation? Elias asked. Direct. October 6th, a $9,100 charge at Tiffany & Co. for a diamond pendant delivered to Isabel Rossi's apartment. He showed him the shipping receipt. His daughter's inheritance, buying baubles for her husband's mistress while she fought for her life in the ICU. Total? Elias's voice was tight. $375,000 over 5 months. But that's just the beginning. I've only scratched the surface. His phone rang. Carson. Judge, you need to hear this. I've been monitoring the hospital's landline calls. Public record. They're recorded for quality assurance. What did you find? October 12th, 9:45 p.m., Liam to Isabel, don't worry about the old man. Once this is over, we'll be set for life. Elias felt the ice water in his veins. There's more. October 15th, 10:15 a.m., to the insurance company, you require the death certificate within 48 hours for expedited payment. I can arrange that. Dr. Thorne looked up from her laptop, her expression grim. Judge Vance, that's conspiracy to commit insurance fraud, a federal offense with a minimum of 15 years. What else, Carson? Hospital security footage. He hasn't just been absent, he's been actively blocking other specialists from consulting on Chloe's case, telling them her condition is hopeless, preventing second opinions. That's medical negligence. And Judge, those Instagram photos, the GPS metadata places the serpent exactly where Bianca said. They were toasting their new beginning 28 minutes after Chloe's emergency surgery began. Elias opened the photos on Dr. Thorne's laptop. Liam and Isabel, glasses raised, Isabel's caption, to turning the page. Dr. Thorne, is this enough? Judge Hance, this is enough to bury him, financially, professionally, and criminally.
At 10:15 a.m., Elias made his first official move. He called Dr. Julian Croft, the chief of medicine at Pacific Crest. They had served on a civic board together years ago. Julian, it's Elias Vance. I need to report a severe breach of medical ethics and potential criminal activity by one of your doctors. What sort of activity, Elias? Julian's voice was immediately serious. Unauthorized access of patient financial records, use of hospital systems to commit theft, forgery of medical documents, and conspiracy to commit insurance fraud. A stunned silence. That's extraordinarily serious. Are you certain? I have a forensic accountant and a private investigator with documented evidence. Bank records, call logs, timestamps. My God, who is it? Dr. Liam Thorne. The silence this time was longer, heavier. Elias, I'll need to see everything. Dr. Thorne will deliver a preliminary report to your office within the hour. But, Julian, there's more. He's been deliberately preventing other doctors from examining Chloe, misrepresenting her prognosis when the data shows clear signs of brain activity. He heard Julian's sharp intake of breath. That's unconscionable. It gets worse. He's been making daily calls to the insurance company about death benefits while simultaneously obstructing treatment that could save her. The sound of furious typing came through the phone. Elias, I'm calling an emergency meeting of the hospital ethics board for this afternoon.
Can you be there? I'll be there. At 11:30 a.m., his phone rang again. An unknown number. Judge Vance? This is Nurse Ben Carter. I'm on the night shift. Rosa Alvarez said I should call you. There's something you need to know. Elias's blood ran cold. What is it? Last night, around 2:30 a.m., Dr. Thorne came to the ICU. He wasn't scheduled. He went straight to your daughter's room. He had a syringe. The world narrowed to a single, terrifying point. What happened? I stopped him, asked what he was administering. He became agitated, said it was a sedative, but it wasn't on the chart, no order. The syringe, it wasn't labeled. Where is it now? I confiscated it, per protocol for any unverified medication. It's with the hospital pharmacy for testing. Elias ended the call and immediately dialed Carson. The syringe. Get the lab results. Now. At 12:02 p.m., Carson called back, his voice grim. Judge, the lab identified the substance. Potassium chloride, a concentration sufficient to induce cardiac arrest within minutes. Liam hadn't just been waiting for her to die. He had tried to murder her, directly, brutally. Elias found Liam in the doctor's parking garage at 1:55 p.m. He was heading for his black Mercedes, his medical bag slung over his shoulder. Liam! He froze, turning slowly. The arrogant confidence from their phone call was gone, replaced with a pale, sweaty anxiety. Elias, what are you doing here? I know about the syringe, the unmarked one from last night. His hand trembled as he reached for his car door. I don't know what you're talking about. Potassium chloride, enough to stop a heart. Not exactly standard care for a brain injury, is it? The keys slipped from his shaking fingers, clattering on the concrete. That was a mistake, a mix-up. Really. Because Nurse Carter couldn't find a single medical order for it. No record in the pharmacy. Elias picked up the keys, weighing them in his hand. You know what else is interesting? Hospital policy is very clear about labeled medications. This one wasn't. His expensive suit was rumpled, his eyes red-shot. The Audemars Piguet watch glinted on his wrist, the $22,000 watch bought with stolen money. How is Isabel? Elias asked calmly. Her Instagram from the yacht was very celebratory. A champagne toast while your wife was under the knife. Romantic.
You've been stalking us. I've been documenting how a man who makes $62,000 a year spends over $140,000 in 6 months. It's impressive theft. That was from our joint accounts. Chloe's trust fund isn't a joint account, Liam. You accessed it illegally. Elias pulled out his phone, showing him a screenshot from Dr. Thorne's report. October 5th, 2:18 p.m. You transferred $9,200, but you were in surgery or hernia repair on a 60-year-old man. The hospital has you on the log. Explain that. Liam stared, his mouth agape. Unless you've mastered bilocation, that's computer fraud, another federal crime. Elias's voice was like steel. What do you want? The same desperate question, but now it was a plea. I want a full confession. Attempted murder, insurance fraud, theft, medical negligence, take your pick. Liam looked around the empty garage. You're insane. Am I? Dr. Croft called an emergency ethics board meeting for 3 p.m. today. They are rather interested in your, extracurricular activities. His hands were shaking uncontrollably. They can't do anything without evidence. Evidence. I have bank records, recorded calls where you discuss the insurance money, security footage of you with a syringe of poison. Elias handed him back his keys. But here's what I find most telling. Isabel's Instagram is gone. Her apartment lease was terminated yesterday. She didn't show up for work today. Liam's face crumpled. She wouldn't. She loves me. She loved the money, Liam, Chloe's money. Now that the FBI's involved, she's cutting her losses. Elias turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Liam, Maya won't be needing a new stepmother. You won't be around to provide one. Liam's coffee cup, which he'd been clutching, fell and shattered on the ground.
The news broke at 6 p.m. The lead investigative reporter for Channel 6, a tenacious woman named Lisa Kim, stood outside Pacific Crest Medical Center. Tonight, a shocking story of betrayal at the highest level. Dr. Liam Thorne, a prominent surgical resident, is under investigation for the attempted murder of his comatose wife, while allegedly stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from her to fund an affair with a hospital employee. Liam's professional headshot flashed on the screen, smiling and confident. Sources tell Channel 6 that Dr. Thorne was caught on camera attempting to administer a lethal dose of potassium chloride to his wife, Chloe Thorne, as she recovered from a traumatic brain injury. Hospital records reveal Dr. Thorne visited his wife only twice in 3 weeks, while spending extravagantly on his girlfriend, including a $55,000 yacht rental posted to social media during his wife's emergency surgery. The damning Instagram photos appeared, the timestamp October 15th, 4:23 p.m. The report cut to Dr. Julian Croft. We are treating these allegations with the utmost seriousness. Dr. Thorne has been suspended indefinitely. Our commitment is to our patients and their safety. His phone rang. Liam, you did this, he screamed, his voice cracking with rage and desperation. You destroyed me. I didn't call the media, Liam, but when you try to kill someone in a hospital, people tend to notice. I wasn't trying to kill her.
Potassium chloride isn't a therapeutic drug, Liam. It's for executions. Silence. Then a broken whisper. The reporters. They're everywhere. They're asking about the money, about Isabel. Where is she? Her landlord said she paid her lease break fee in cash, $10,000. She's gone, Liam. You're destroying my life. You made that choice the day you decided my daughter was worth more to you dead than alive. The news report showed footage of Liam leaving the hospital, disheveled and stumbling, his Mercedes parked haphazardly. The FBI's Financial Crimes Division has confirmed an open investigation. If convicted, Dr. Thorne faces decades in federal prison. Liam's voice was a ragged sob. I need a lawyer. You'll need several. Criminal, malpractice, federal. It's going to be very expensive. I don't have that kind of money. You have $28,500 worth of jewelry. Of course, you'd have to get it back from Isabel first. The line went dead. Elias turned off his phone. The trap was closing. Dr. R.S. Thorne's final report arrived at 9 a.m. the next day, 163 pages of meticulously documented crime. She sat with Elias and Eleanor in the conference room. Judge Vance, in 18 years, I've rarely seen fraud this brazen. He didn't just steal. He built a parallel financial identity to hide it. She opened the first box. Accounts under B. Thorne, L. Thorne, M.D., Dr. L. Thorne. He funneled the money through them. She showed him the flow. Chloe's trust to B. Thorne account to Cartier. Chloe's investment account to L. Thorne, M.D. account to yacht rental. The life insurance policy, she continued, opening a second box. The medical exam was signed by Dr. Robert Hayes, a retired oncologist in Florida. I spoke with him. He never examined Chloe, never heard of her. Another forgery. The policy had a double indemnity clause for accidental death, $5 million. Dr. Thorne, Elias asked, his voice quiet, was Chloe's accident really an accident? She opened the third box. Police reports, mechanics assessments. I had an independent forensic mechanic examine the car. The brake lines were severed, cleanly. The cut was made with a sharp, precise instrument, surgical scissors, perhaps. The original police report listed it as mechanical failure. Liam tried to kill her twice, first the car, then the needle. His phone rang. Carson. Judge, he's liquidating everything. Sold the Mercedes, emptied his retirement accounts. He's running. There's more, Carson added. The syringe. The lab found trace amounts of insulin mixed with the potassium chloride. It would have masked the cause of death, made it look like a diabetic coma. Elias felt a wave of nausea. The calculation, the cold-blooded precision of it. Dr. Thorne, Elias said, turning back to the accountant, what's the total count? She consulted her laptop. Financial crimes, 54 counts of theft, total $375,000. Insurance fraud, 12 forged documents. Attempted murder, 2 documented attempts. Medical negligence, 22 instances of patient abandonment and obstruction of care. She closed the laptop. The case is airtight.
At 11:30 a.m., FBI Special Agent David Lee called. Judge Vance, federal arrest warrants have been issued for Liam Thorne and Isabel Racine. Bank fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit murder. Have you found them? Isabel Rosie was arrested at Toronto Pearson Airport trying to board a flight to Seoul. She's being extradited. Thorne is still at large, but Judge, we found something in her luggage, a laptop. It has everything. Emails planning the accident, spreadsheets tracking the stolen money, and time-stamped photos from the night of Chloe's accident. They were toasting what they called Phase 1 complete. They had documented their own descent into evil. The custody hearing was a formality. The courtroom was packed. Liam, with his new, harried-looking public defender, sat slumped at his table. Elias sat with Maya, who held his hand tightly. "Is Daddy in trouble, Grandpa?" "Yes, sweetheart, but you're safe with me." Judge Anya Sharma, a former protege of Elias, presided. The evidence presented was overwhelming. Nurse Ben Carter testified about the syringe. Carson presented the financial records. Dr. Ars Thorne explained the sophisticated fraud. Agent Lee detailed the federal case. Liam's parental rights were terminated on the spot. Full, permanent guardianship was granted to Elias. In the hallway, as reporters swarmed, Liam was led away in handcuffs. He looked at Elias, all arrogance gone, only a hollow, terrified shell remaining. "You win," he mumbled. Elias looked down at Maya, then back at Liam. This was never about winning. 3 months later, Elias was reading to Chloe from a novel when her fingers twitched in his hand. He stopped, his heart hammering against his ribs. Her eyelids fluttered. Slowly, with immense effort, they opened. She blinked, disoriented, her gaze drifting around the room before settling on him. "Daddy?" Her voice was a dry, raspy whisper, but it was the most beautiful sound he had ever heard. Tears he had been holding back for months finally streamed down his face. "I'm here, sweetheart. You're safe." She browed furrowed. Liam, he was so angry about the money, the divorce papers. "Shh, he's gone, Chloe. He can't hurt you anymore." She nodded slowly, as if a terrible puzzle was finally making sense. "Maya?" "She's safe. She's with me. She's been reading to you every day. She can't wait to see you awake." A tear traced a path down Chloe's temple. I knew you would protect us." The criminal trial that followed was a swift, brutal affair. Liam Thorne was found guilty on all counts: attempted murder, insurance fraud, grand theft, computer fraud, and a dozen other charges. He was sentenced to 30 years to life in a federal penitentiary, his medical license permanently revoked. Isabel Rosie, having cooperated fully, received a 10-year sentence. The civil suit stripped him of everything. The assets were restored to Chloe with significant punitive damages added. One afternoon, as Chloe continued her physical therapy in the garden of his home, Elias watched Maya push her on the swing, both of them laughing, the sound weaving a new joyful melody over the grim memories of the past months. The nightmare was over. The battle was won. His family was whole again, protected behind boundaries forged in fire and retribution. Some people mistook a father's love for vulnerability, but Elias Vance had proven that when that love was threatened, it became the most formidable and relentless force in the world.